Welcome to the Wilhelmi's Food Science Lab.
Thanks, Blake. Hey, and welcome to STEAM Day, and we are doing Rethink Your Drink, and I'm here with Mrs. Wilhelmi, and before she was a teacher, she was a dietitian, and so she's going to help me out today in telling you how much sugar is in your everyday drinks.
So the reason we came up with this is because my family didn't understand why I didn't buy pop all the time, and we're going to show them why we don't buy pop every time. As a dietitian, we call these kinds of foods, the ones that are higher in sugar, sometimes foods, and I think you'll see why you should only drink it sometimes after we do today's experiment. So when you take a Mountain Dew, every food item that you buy has a nutrition facts label on the back, and on this one it says that there's only one serving per bottle of this, so in that serving there's 77 grams of sugar. But what does that really mean? How much is a gram? So what we're going to do today is we're going to figure out how many grams are in, are going to change grams to teaspoons in this experiment. So let's start. Blake's going to be my calculator person today. Ideally, we would like to do a little bit more math with this and have you do the long math, but to keep things rolling, we're going to have him running my calculator so you can see. If you want to do this with your own calculator at home, you definitely can. So we're going to start with 77 grams. And to be able to calculate this and convert it into teaspoons, you need to know that 4 grams equals 1 teaspoon.
Here's a teaspoon right here, smaller than a tablespoon.
So what we're going to do is take the 77 and divide it by 4 because there's 4 grams in 1 teaspoon. Blake, what do you get? 19.25. So what that means is that this bottle right here has 19 and 1/4 teaspoon of sugar. So we're going to keep doing some math, and Mr. Wilhelmi is going to measure those very level and measure them into the cup so you can see just how much sugar that is at the end. But while he's measuring that, Blake and I are going to figure out how much sugar that is if you drank one of these every day for a week. So since there's 7 days in a week, we're going to take our 19.25 teaspoons and times it by 7. And that becomes 134.75 teaspoons per week. Now, if we look at it and want to know for a year, we just have to take it times 52 because there's 52 weeks in a year. So Blake, can you times your number by 52? And the total for that is 7,007 teaspoons of sugar per year. So 7,000 of those teaspoons. So if you look at this cup, here's how much sugar you just drank if you drank 1 bottle of Mountain Dew.
Kind of amazing, isn't it? It's a lot of sugar.
All right, so we're going to put that into a bag and leave that one out. And now we're going to look at Gatorade.
Put these two together. Okay. And now we're looking at a Gatorade. Now, Gatorade, honestly, is one of my favorite sports drinks. And I had no idea how much sugar I was actually drinking. And I would drink, these maybe 1-2 times a day until I knew how much sugar is in them. And we stopped buying them so much.
Right. So the way Gatorade came about is that there were college football teams. And they had science departments that had figured out if they added a little bit of salt, they became hydrated faster. And actually what they were drinking was pickle juice because it had salt in it. And that made them hydrated faster. But then as science evolved, scientists found out that if you do a little bit of sugar with the sodium found in salt, that it gets the water into your system faster. So they created sports drinks made out of those two things and different electrolytes. Then what we realized is that we really don't need that much sugar to get that water into your body, and you don't really need it unless you're sweating a lot to the point where you lose weight because you're sweating so much. So unless you're participating in sports where you're running for hours straight and you're sweating a lot, like maybe some common ones would be like hockey goalies or basketball players that never come off the court. And like when we talked about was Michael Jordan in the NBA Finals, he would maybe need a little bit of Gatorade to get the water into his system quickly. But if you're playing baseball and you're not working up a huge sweat, if you're golfing or maybe running short races, you probably would get by just fine with regular water and not sports drinks. So in this bottle, it actually says, if we look closely at the nutrition facts label, that this bottle is 2.5 servings. A lot of people don't realize that. There's more than one serving in a lot of the containers you buy. So I normally, when I buy these, don't break them into 2.5 servings. But if you drink the whole bottle in one sitting, this has 55 grams of sugar. So let's figure out how much sugar that is. So we're going to take, Blake, are you ready? 55 divided by 4 again, because there's 4 grams in a teaspoon. We're going to get 13.75. So Mr. Wilhelmi is going to help us. He's going to measure 13 3/4 teaspoons. And we're going to figure out how much that is in a week and a year. So times 7 for 7 days a week. And we get 96.25 teaspoons per week. And then if we're going to take that times 52 for 52 weeks in a year, and we're going to get 5,000, oh, that's a messy 5,005 teaspoons per year. Whoops. So it's a little bit less. It's actually 2,000 less per year. If we take a look at that, the Gatorade has a lot less sugar than the Mountain Dew does. We can compare the two. But now that we know how much we have in a year for both of those, let's see how much sugar that really is. How much is 5,000 teaspoons in a whole year? So we're going to erase this. And if we take 5,005, and this bag right here has 454 teaspoons of sugar in it. So we're going to divide 5,005 divided by 454. And we're going to get 11.02. So basically, if we had one of those bottles of Gatorade every day for 1 year, you would be drinking 11 bags of sugar just from those Gatorades.
Yeah, and this bag of sugar is 4 pounds. So I would say it's a normal bag of sugar at the grocery store, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you go to a grocery store, this is kind of the bag of sugar you're going to buy. And this is 4 pounds. I think that's crazy.
Right. Okay, Blake, so now can you take 7,007 divided by 454 again. 15.43 bags of sugar a year. So, with your Mountain Dew, because we had Mountain Dew was 7,007 teaspoons, a bag is 454, we divided that out, we got almost 15 and a half bags just from your Mountain Dew. So if you drink 1 bottle of Mountain Dew a day, that's how many bags of sugar you're consuming. That doesn't count any of the candy you're eating at Halloween, Valentine's Day, or after a parade. It doesn't count the cookies that your grandma brings over. That's just the sugar you're drinking. So that's why we call these sometimes foods. It's okay to have them every once in a while, but we shouldn't drink them every day.
Yeah, so thank you for watching today. And we chose this because not that we're telling you not to drink these things, but I just never knew until Mrs. Wilhelmi told me how much sugar I was actually putting into my body.
Right. And there's actually a lot of different options. So one thing you can do is watch your portion size and find smaller amounts and not drink big bottles of it. Another thing you can do is there's multiple kinds of Gatorade now where they've cut back on the sugar. So you can get a G2 where you get half of the sugar. Or you could find like a Propel where there is actually very little sugar in it. Other options would be like some artificially sweetened flavoring packets like a Crystal Light. Or you could also drink just regular water, which is good for you. And what we like to say is for everything you drink that isn't plain water, you should have at least just as much regular water.
All right, so thank you, Mrs. Wilhelmi, and thank you to our camera girl, Bryn, and thank you to Blake, who was running calculator.
I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please press the subscribe button if you guys wanted to keep up with our videos. Bye!